Good evening, and thank you for joining us tonight at Metro World News. For today's top story, breaking news from Latin America.
Tens of thousands of Venezuelans have marched against the revolutionary socialist president Nicolas Maduro in Caracas. Under this president, corruption has increased and Venezuela has fallen into an economic recession.
And now to Daniel with Latin American weather.
In San Salvador, El Salvador, highs for the week in the low 80s, lows in the mid 60s, and rain is likely.
Thank you, Daniel. And now for more news out of Latin America. Colombian President Juan Manuel Santos announced Tuesday that the ceasefire signed with the rebel group FARC will expire at the end of the month.
Now to Sophie with our sports story.
Mexico defeated Panama with a score of 1-0 in men's soccer this past Wednesday during an international friendly match. Now to Nia with our next story.
Earlier this week, a family in the northern Peruvian town woke up in the middle of the night to what they thought was a burglar. Turns out it was just a penguin. It is unknown how the penguin got in there, but it is thought that the barking outside scared it into the house.
Thank you, Nia. Moving on to news from China.
On the eve of China's 67th birthday, the president and other leaders showed their commitment to openness to the outside world and to maintaining peace by holding a ceremony, a grand reception, and meeting with foreign guests.
And now to weather with Daniel.
In Beijing, China, the weather for this week is highs in the upper 60s, lows in the upper 40s, clear skies early in the week, small possibility of rain later in the week.
Thank you, Daniel. The Chinese Communist Party is using the American presidential election to exploit the flaws in the American democratic system in order to push forward the one-party rule agenda. The Chinese media is depicting Trump and Hillary as puppets of the wealthy elite and are using it as a distraction from their current scandals.
And now to Sophie with our sports story.
Ma Long and Jackie Zhang will meet in a ping pong semifinal match after defeating their respective opponents in the quarterfinal round. Now to Nia with our next story.
A woman living in Zagong City woke up to find a 3-foot crocodile had appeared in her completely fenced garden. How does that happen? Later, she found out that the crocodile had fallen 50 feet from where it was being raised illegally by residents in her apartment building. Luckily, 6 men were able to capture it and take it to the Wildlife Protective Services.
Thanks again, Nia. And now to our Middle East segment.
Saudi authorities have executed a Nigerian man after convicting him of murdering a police officer. It was the 95th execution of the year in the country.
And now to Daniel with Middle East weather.
In Abu Dhabi, highs for the week in the low 90s, lows in the upper 70s, and clear skies for this week.
Thanks, Daniel. Low oil prices and a very expensive war in Yemen have created a crisis in the Saudi budget that has led to cuts in public spending and reductions in payment benefits for government workers. The government has had to cut the construction projects and lay off workers. Laborers have responded by setting fire to buses during protests.
And now to Sophie with a sports story.
Following a stunning victory against Japan, the UAE men's soccer team lost to Saudi Arabia in the third round of qualifying matches for the 2018 World Cup. Now to Nia with another story.
Google Street View has added a new location to their services, the Arabian Desert. Their newest employee, Rafia the camel, sounds handsome, has had a camera attached to him and set off to the Roman region, where we will hopefully get great views of the desert.
Thanks again, Nia. That concludes our stories for the night. Thank you for joining us.
And from all of us here at Metro World News, have a great night.